Alfred Hitchcock, the man, the myth, the legend. So many movies I've heard and seen content about, but I've never actually watched. And as a film buff, that won't stand, man. And so I sat down and watched Rear Window, his 1950s mystery whodunit, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. In this movie was great. I've seen it twice now, and even the second time, I was invested from start to finish.
You know, I should have been a gypsy fortune teller instead of an insurance company nurse.
This movie stars James Stewart and Grace Kelly as our two main protagonists. However, James Stewart's character Jeff is the main focal point protagonist, and Grace Kelly's Lisa is his girlfriend, and they are the two main driving characters in this story, between not only the overall plot, but then also the conflict between these two characters and what their future holds for them. So I want to take a look and see what I really enjoyed and what worked about this movie and what didn't, and yeah, just give my thoughts on it. So the overall general premise is Jeff, who is bored at home, has a broken leg, and he's been stuck in a hot-ass New York apartment for weeks on end, watching his neighbors and being kind of creepy.
New York State sentence for a peeping Tom is 6 months in the workhouse.
And coupled with the hot-ass temperatures, there's kind of a question, is this man losing his shit? We see his girlfriend, who's Grace Kelly's character, as well as his insurance nurse, whatever the fuck that means.
Insurance company nurse.
The start of the story really kind of sets that up, when he, kind of his character and this conflict between him and his girlfriend. He's like considerably older than her, and he's like, I think she wants me to marry her, and I don't know if that's gonna work, because I'm an out in the field, get dirty, doing it rough kind of photographer, and she's this hoity-toity socialite from Park Avenue kind of thing. These just aren't gonna mesh, yo. So that's the inner conflict between the main two protagonists. And one night after she leaves and it's super rainy out, Jeff sees some really odd shit with his neighbor across the way. And so this movie functions not necessarily as a whodunit or it's more like a did they do it? It's not even like a howdunit. It's not a whodunit, not a howdunit. It's a did they do it? Did they done it? And that's where it comes to the forward motion of the plot is, did this guy across the way actually kill his wife and is actually acting crazy? Is Jeff going just a little nuts and a little stir crazy? And so we have the four primary characters, or let's go five. We have Jeff, we have Lisa, who's his girlfriend, Grace Kelly. We have Stella, the nurse.
You know, I should have been a gypsy.
You have his cop, Doyle, that shows up halfway through, and then the subject of Jeff's interest, Mr. Thorwald.
Oh, why don't you shut up?
Who he suspects whacked his wife. And then, like, in the secondary cast of characters are just those people that are living in this little New York neighborhood square. You got Miss Torso.
You remember, of course, Miss Torso, the ballet dancer?
Miss Lonely Heart.
You have Miss Lonely Hearts, who's just this really sad, lonely person. You have this new couple that just moved into the area, into the building next to Jeff's. You have this pianist who likes to socialize and host people, rather. And a couple of other just minor neighbor characters and they really round out this cast and bring this world to life with just their daily activities that you're doing. Jeff's really on the case. He's there's something going on here. Some funky. Something doesn't smell right.
There's evil afoot. Evil!
And at first, the nurse and Lisa are like, I think you might be a little nuts there, my dude. I think you might be getting a little crazy. And he kind of starts laying it out in his theory. And like, hey, here are some odd things that this dude has been doing. Like, it's middle of the night, it's pouring ass rain, and this guy's running in and out of his apartment with a suitcase at like 3 in the morning. He's like, what the fuck is that about? And the wife, who used to just be on his case all the time, she's gone. And slowly he starts getting everyone involved and interested in his theories. Because there's something strange afoot.
There's evil afoot. Evil!
What throws him off in this misdirection is we see Mr. Thorwald and some person, and we're led to believe it's may or may not be the wife, who goes to the train station and sees her off, and there's just this ruse that is built into covering this guy's tracks. And that's one of the things I didn't necessarily care as much as it sets it all. This guy's got it all planned out. It just for what happens, it just seems very spur of the moment. And to have this big ruse mixed in, just to kind of misdirect the audience, misdirect the characters. I liked it, but I also thought it was just like a little feasible, and by the end it wasn't as clear, and it felt very kind of plot holey. On the second time around, I did realize it did kind of explain it. Kind of becomes more and more apparent that this guy killed his wife. And for a 50s movie, it's kind of dark and violent. Like, it's heavily, like, not even alluded. It's just heavily stated. Like, this guy, like, killed her and then, like, dismembered her and spread her about everywhere. And, like, put a part of her down in the garden where this dog's been digging for it. And I was kind of shocked for the time. It was a bit dark.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And yeah, by the very end, we find out, hey, this is what happened, and we come to learn that, was this a they done it? Yes, they did. They done it very bad. They've been a very bad boy. And it's such an enjoyable, exciting ride up to the very end, where once Stella and Lisa are on board and they sneak across in the square. They sneak across the square and they slip into Mr. Thorwald's apartment to look for jewelry and a ring. Yo, because the Miss Thorwald isn't going to go out of town without any of her bling, especially her wedding ring. That don't check out, my dude. So they sneak over. Lisa gets caught and she gets taken to the police house. And Mr. Thorwald realizes okay, these people are on to me. Time to go silence this motherfucker. And so he has this final confrontation with Jeff, which I think is really clever, with bringing the photography, this main character attribute of this character, into that confrontation. And it's actually kind of funny at the end. And one of the things, as I was reading and learning about this film, is how it was put together and how it was executed. And when you watch it, you see these 4 layers. Jeff's apartment, which is where we spend the most of our time with the camera. There's some extenuating camera shots around the neighborhood, but then you have the neighbor buildings, and so Jeff, the neighbor's buildings, and the square where a lot of that secondary action is happening, and then behind those buildings is the street. And as I was reading about this film, what's totally wild, crazy, is all of this was filmed on one giant set. And so to have these 3 layers of storytelling happening is wild. And to keep the camera position in that first layer for 90 to 95% of the film is astounding and pulling us in, and just in a way people watching our characters. And what totally blows my mind is like that third layer, the street, the layer behind the buildings, that the street, and we just see a glimpse of the street through the alley. That we see people passing by in cars. And to have that, I think that level of direction, I don't know if he was just like, yo, people just go do whatever the fuck you want back here, and it was just background, or if it was all choreographed and how people were going to be walking by and acting. It's wild. And then to learn further on for those sequences and heavy rainfall, like that was all set up with this massive water system to rain across these 3 layers. You know, the rain falls outside of Jeff's window, but in the second layer, and then we see it also raining in the alley down yonder. So just, I think the way that was all put together, and then to have within this set, you have these little buildings that these secondary neighbor characters are just going about their life. They're just doing their characters' lives. Is completely mind-boggling. Like it's awesome how it all puts together when you think about it. Yeah, and very, very little of the camera work is done outside of the apartment, let alone we never really see the perspective looking into the apartment. It's the looking out. So for majority of the film, it's looking out on the set, out on the setting, and then at the very end, the camera rotates where we see some of the action happening in Jeff's apartment. You know, the writing and the dialogue is really well done, and by the end, you know, we have a nice little bow tied up on all of our conflicts. We have the main mystery. The conflict between Jeff and Lisa is tied up, as well as some of these secondary characters even have their own little narrative, like Miss Lonely Hearts meeting with the showman pianist, and we see Miss Torso with her hubby coming home from military duty, and so we get this nice little closure, and it's a really well done movie. And the thing that got me thinking after both times that I watched this is one of the things that it really speaks on is the people watching tendencies that we all have, and the voyeuristic qualities of that, and how that was back in the 50s, where without all this technology, we just watched the people and life around us, and vice versa. Like, we never know when people are watching us. And now, for many decades after that, and with the advent of the internet and social media, now that's taken to a whole new level where we voyeuristically people watch through Facebook and Instagram and even YouTube, and still kind of live vicariously through other people's lives and just watching them. And I think that's just a really interesting dichotomy of up close to medium afar, and now you can people watch from around the world. In those earlier days, that people watching that and watching the life around you has that collective, almost intimate feeling to it, of people within your immediate vicinity. And that's life happening around you, whether if you're a part of it or not. And now in this day and age, you don't have to be a part of it. Like, that's completely changed. You could be people watching from all over the country, all over the world, and not be active. And I think that adds to that extra layer of like not being involved in life. Yeah, and I thought that was just very interesting.
We become a race of peeping Toms. What people ought to do is get outside their own house and look in for a change.
To wrap it all up, the plot and the acting and the writing, it was all phenomenally well done. This is a solid Hitchcock movie. I'm really glad that I watched it as my first. I'm giving this a 9.5 out of 10. If you've been liking the content, then go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and keep coming back to check on new videos.